Akira is one of the most legendary anime movies ever, and in my opinion, it's the greatest anime movie that's ever been made. Now, Akira being 35 years old does not hinder this movie in the slightest. It still holds up great. The visuals still hold up great. The dub is, probably like the only thing that's a little bit dated. But other than that, this movie holds up in every aspect: animation, story. The soundtrack is really like one of the things that really stood out to me in this movie. It's really ambient and not in your face, but it makes the ambiance of the scenes hold so much more weight than just having a regular a rock or metal soundtrack that most anime movies have. But this movie being 35 years old, you really couldn't tell besides the animation quality and a couple of the dialogue choices. But otherwise than that, this movie holds up well, and it holds up better than a lot of more recent anime movies. Now, Akira is legendary for a lot of reasons, but this is the movie that sort of gave birth to the whole cyberpunk genre. Especially now, we have Akira to thank for basically birthing the cyberpunk anime and the entire genre in itself. Now me personally, I kind of do accredit Akira to cyberpunk and the steampunk kind of aesthetic, because they kind of both fit that same theme and aesthetic for me at least. But Akira has so many influences that it would be impossible to list all of them. Akira has influenced over the 35 years that it's been out, so I'm not going to try to attempt to reference all of them. I'm only going to try to reference the ones that I know off the top of my head, or the ones that I can research. But as far as I know, Akira has basically paved the way. Akira walked so that almost every other anime after it could run. Every other anime that's basically been created has Akira to thank for bringing anime to the forefront, especially to the West, because before Akira, anime wasn't in America basically at all. The only animation style content that we had was cartoons, and even back then, especially in 1988, which is when this movie came out, cartoons were basically limited to kid friendly shit basically. One of the things that's is an obvious giveaway is the Akira motorcycle slide that we all know, and has basically been in every type of anime that you can think of. But one kind of parallel that was kind of funny to me, that really stood out to me as far as plot parallels to Akira, is Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, but the plot of Akira and the plot of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is damn near the same thing, but with, instead of psychic powers and shit being the main focus, and this cosmic type of energy that they're trying to create and basically destroy Neo Tokyo, is Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. Because if you look at the plots, they're really similar, and and one friend who rides the motorcycle has to save his friend from the bad guys basically, and this cosmic entity. And essentially what happens is, in New Domino City and 5Ds, they have an event which is basically the same thing as what happened in Akira. Something happens where this cosmic energy gets so much power that it blows up and destroys the entire town. So in New Domino City, they've rebuilt this city, and they've gone away with the energy that destroyed old Domino City. But basically in a future that the villains come to try to prevent, the same thing happens. And it was just kind of like a cool parallel that I saw, as far as the plot is basically the same thing. And even the protagonist in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds has a red motorcycle, which looks really similar to the ones that they used in Akira, and I just thought that was kind of funny. But back to Akira. Akira has so many themes and stuff. I'm not gonna go over all of them like I said, but the one thing that I can say about Akira is that for something that's based on one singular city, it makes it feel like the movie itself, when you watch it, makes it feel like they built up the entire world. And this feels like it would have been something that would have spawned a sequel about space and all the other type of shit, and delved more into the psychic kids that have these powers and wanting to create a whole new universe inside of Tokyo. But it's they build up such a big world in such a small space, and I don't really think that I've never seen another anime movie that's been able to do that, at least off the top of my head right now, because they build so much with such little resources and such little time, that this feels like this is the movie culminating of a great anime series, but it's just a one-off movie. Which, like I said in my Fooly Cooly video, not a lot of animes can do that. Not a lot of animes, especially anime movies, can build up such a big feeling world and make it, make sense in such a short amount of time with only, like one city location or like an outskirts city location. Not a lot of anime or anime movies can do that, especially one-offs. And Akira does that perfectly. Akira builds up this world perfectly, and there's no plot point that's left unturned. Every plot point that they bring up has a conclusion. Every question that you have in a movie has a conclusion. And I haven't really seen it done this way, to where like you introduce us into a world so quickly, and by the end of it, we're satisfied with everything that you've shown us. Every question we've had is answered in such a short amount of time. One thing that I absolutely will credit Akira for is their characters. Besides, the general dude, none of the other characters felt one-dimensional in the slightest. None of the characters felt like they had, none of the characters felt like they didn't have a significant change by the end of the movie, whether that was emotionally, physically, mentally, or all the above. All the characters felt like they went through their own personal story within the big story of Akira. Everybody down to even the side characters in the bike gangs, they felt like they went through their own personal story, went through their own struggles, and really learned something from this whole crazy experience that they went through. My favorite of the entire movie being Tetsuo, because Tetsuo going through, his whole villain journey and basically going from, a helpless person who, could never really defend for himself, to being, this all-powerful villain that can, destroy, the whole town and all this other crazy shit, to then going back to that helpless person who doesn't know what's going on with his life by the end of the movie. I thought that was like a great way to finish off his story, to basically put him in the same place that he was again. Because if you remember in the movie, Tetsuo made it very clear that he never really liked having to always depend on Kaneda's help. But then in the end of the movie, he's literally screaming for Kaneda's help because he's, lost control of his powers, and he's basically just becoming this big mass of everything. And I really love that that's how they, culminated his story. Him basically being up under Kaneda, then being above Kaneda, then being right back up under Kaneda. I really feel like it wasn't necessarily the story itself, but the way that they did it, I really do love that kind of, character arc for him. And the one thing that this movie does that I really, really love is that they keep the big, story of Akira a mystery. And I also said this in my Fooly Cooly video, is that they keep certain things a mystery on purpose so that they won't over explain every single detail, so that it won't feel special anymore. They don't necessarily over explain, how the kids got their powers. They don't over explain what Akira is. They don't over explain what's really going on in this world. We're really just, sitting here experiencing this for the first time along with the characters themselves. So we're just as confused as they are. So it gives more of a genuine reaction when crazy shit happens, like in every part of this movie damn near. But that's something that I love that they do in animes, but they end up over explaining everything to where they're it doesn't feel special anymore. There's no mystery about it because we basically know everything. We know the whole plot. We're just waiting to see how it pans out, and if it actually happens, or if it was just some bullshit basically. Because honestly, in a way, this movie, to me at least, kind of fits into, the whole, detective mystery genre of, movies too. Because throughout most of the movie, they're trying to find out what the government actually wants to do with Akira, and what, the kids actually want to, we're basically just as confused as the other characters as to what's going on. Because when they're trying to figure shit out, we're trying to figure shit out. Because since they don't know what Akira is, we don't know what Akira is. And it's it really brings forth, it makes the story have so much weight to it, and you feel the sense of urgency that the characters do when they're trying to get Tetsuo out the hospital, when they're trying to calm him down, when they're trying to prevent Akira from happening again. And it really helps the story, progress in a way, and it makes the pacing go not too fast, but not too slow. And it really has this perfect fit at the end of the movie when everything culminates. But to kind of sum up my thoughts about Akira, this is a legendary anime movie. If you somehow haven't watched it, leave this video right now and go watch it on Hulu. It's my favorite anime movie of all time, and to me, still to this day, I have not seen an anime movie that's better than Akira. And I have not seen, and after all the anime movies that I've seen out through my lifetime, no anime movie holds up this well like Akira does. No standalone anime movie holds up this well 30 years later. This one movie set the course for the entire anime scene, so that alone makes it legendary, but it being as good as it is to this day makes it 10 times better. And I really do feel like a lot of people could take inspiration from this movie to really understand like the limits that you can go with the anime movie without using so much. You don't need a $10 million, animation budget. You don't need, a million special effects. You just need, a basic premise, basic casting really, and you can make something fucking great.